Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, here for the penultimate round here in Lucama, North Carolina at the Southern National Motorsports Park for our second to last race of the season, our last short track event of the season. And I'll tell you what, practice and qualifying was a little bit of a struggle for some of these drivers here tonight, and it is bound to be one heck of a chaotic race to sign things off before we head to our championship at Pocono Raceway next week. Coming into tonight's event, we do have a new championship points leader, Mr. Garrett Streets, currently leading the points championship right now of 263 points to his name. Brandon Feeney coming in right back behind him with 247. Then Brian Sabelski rounding out the top three with 238. That's going to be Johnny Bell and Jason Mong, fourth and fifth in the standings, respectively. Right now, both of them are sitting at 176 and 172 points right now. But right now, inside the top three of the championship, it is still very much anyone's game here tonight. And 100 laps is going to be what settles the score and what determines who is going to have a little tiny bit of breathing room to work with heading into next week's event. That said, drivers are making their way on down to the starting grid, so how about we take a look at our starting lineup here this evening and see how things end up shaking out here. Starting out on the pole, 2 wins to his name here this evening, but all the way back in 13th in the championship standings. Part-time driver in the do-it-yourself double zero. And that's going to be Garrett Hess. Rounding out second and third here tonight, I'll tell you what, race fans, I don't get paid enough for this. Howie Felter Snatch rounding out position number 2 in the Dos Primos Tequila entry. Brought it home on the podium for the first time last week at South Boston. And tonight, he is joined by his teammate and fellow competitor, Mr. Andy Felterbrush, in the 44 Mountain Dew Code Red entry, rounding out position number 3. Fourth place is going to go back to one of our champion hopefuls here tonight. That's going to be the 85 of Brian Sabelski. Row number 3 is going to go back to the SM Racing Products racing team. That is, of course, S for Garrett Streets and M for Jeremy Morrow. They're going to be rolling it off out of position 5 and 6. Seventh place can go back to that Canadian driver in the Liqua Molly 38. That's Mr. Brandon Feeney rolling it off position number 7. Eighth place can go back to the CZ Robotics 24 of Corey Logan, followed by League Admin ASRC driver 93 of Jason Gardner. Back in 10th, that's going to be the once again unsponsored here tonight, number 78 of Derek Murphy, followed by TJ Henson in that 62 South Point Racing entry. And finally, rounding out the field here tonight in the number 42, it's going to be the driver out of Calgary, driving the classic Mountain Dew entry here tonight, not to be confused with the Code Red Mountain Dew entry we have up here at the front of the field. That said, we're already getting ready to go green flag racing here. Let's just see what these drivers have to throw here at Lucama, North Carolina. Green flag up in the air. Garrett Hess, leads the way down into turn number 1. Teammates running side by side just behind, and they're going to make contact with each other down in 3 and 4. Nothing too serious quite yet, but I'll tell you what, these little bumps and bangs, eventually something is going to go wrong for one of these drivers. We have seen it time and time again at these short track races. These ARCA cars are really unstable, really squirrely, really loose, and just a little bit of a touch in the wrong spot can send these cars flying off into oblivion. Sabelski sending it down low, managing to get around that number 96 machine. Now on the outside, looking into the podium here this evening. Right in front of him is Garrett Streets, last week's race winner and our new championship points standings leader. For Sabelski right now, this one position is a little bit of a life or death experience. considering what all is going to be going down at Pocono next week. Of course, we are only 6 laps in the books. Might be a little bit too early to try anything too daring here, but Sabelski has to finish ahead of that 15 here this evening in order to really stay competitive in next week's event at the Pocono Raceway. With the point standings as close as they are, these drivers need every single point that they can get here this evening. Currently, the closest battle on the speedway is between these two drivers here, Streets and Sabelski, battling for the final podium position here as Morrow and Feeney get into a little bit of a scuffle further back in the field. Feeney down there in that 38 Liqui Moly entry, currently the furthest driver back in the championship standings, and TJ Henson incredibly loose out of the corner, but she manages to hang on to it in that South Point number 62. Incredible save there. That was almost destined to be our first caution of the evening in any other circumstance, but TJ Henson keeps it rolling right behind Jason Gardner, currently still in the same spot where he qualified. TJ Henson up +3, and she scrapes against the outside wall there. That is not going to be doing her any favors here. Gardner about 4/10 of a second back, give or take, roughly. Further up in the field, it's still the battle between Streets and Sabelski where all of the drama is right now. 3/10 now make it almost 2/10 of a second dividing these two drivers as they head through 3 and 4. Let's see what the lap times look like when they come across the line. Last time by, and Streets 0.003 of a second faster than Sabelski, so these two drivers are very equally matched. Fastest lap of that time by, though, was going to go to Andy Felterbrush with a 15.08. I know our fastest lap times of the race all in the 14.8 range, though, so already these drivers having a little bit of tire fall off, and we are only 15 laps here into tonight's event. Hess starting to get a little bit of pressure from that Mountain Dew Code Red energy. Hess only has competed in about, I want to say, 4 races so far this season, and so far has won 2 of them. Caution flag out on the speedway for the first time here this evening. Caution flag is out, and folks in the camera truck are telling me that it's going to be for that CZ Robotics 24 of Corey Logan here. Let's see if we can't take a look back here and see what exactly went down for that number 24 machine. Heading down into 3 and 4, and sure enough, just a little bit of the left front down on the apron, upsets the balance of the car, tries to get back on the throttle, and it's just not going to stick for him. Take another look here a little bit further zoomed out. Fortunately, no other cars really around, so not much risk of collecting anyone, and Logan at least able to keep it in the right direction, gets it locked down. Not really that much damage. It looks like a very subtle tap onto the inside wall, so Logan should be good to keep going, aside from the fact that that just built up a lot more heat in their tires than they were probably wanting so far this evening. As it stands, though, about to be 20 laps in the books, and we're only 5 minutes into tonight's event. That's just how fast we click these laps off here at the Southern National Motorsports Park. And I'll tell you what a speedway this track is. It has made it onto the calendar of the ASRC Oval Series every single season since its inception. The only track that can say that besides this one is the USA International Speedway, and we have quite the cast of characters that have taken home wins here at this track. Jake Johansson, Connor Wagner, Charles Cruz, Steven Rex, Benjamin Hars, Jason Gardner has taken home a win here all the way back in season number 6. Sabelski in season 7, season 10, and Tyler McRae takes home the cake with 3 wins to his name at this speedway here in the ASRC Oval Series. So right now, Sabelski and Gardner are the only two drivers on the track that have taken home wins at this speedway, and Hess, Felterbrush Streets, and Felter Snatch, none of them have taken home wins at this speedway, so all of them have something to race for here. Green flag back up in the air, and an amazing launch for Hess there. Right behind is going to be Garrett Streets, though. Battle of the Garretts for the race lead, but that code red 44 is right on his tail, and he is not going to make it easy for him. These may both be rookie drivers here, the 44 and 96 machines, but they have shown that they absolutely have what it takes to contend with the best that ASRC has to offer. Currently battling out side by side with Brian Sabelski, and mind you, Sabelski is a 4-time champion here in the ASRC Oval Series. He is going for number 5, and he is currently right at the tail end of these two rookie drivers, both of them making their first starts of the series in these last couple of races. Streets and Hess, of course, both multiple wins to their names, but no championships so far in ASRC. Hess, excuse me, is completely out of the picture here. Hess is not going to be able to take home the championship, even if he wins tonight's race and next week's championship event at Pocono. But Streets is battling in the closest he has ever been to taking home a championship here in the ASRC Oval Series, and what a heck of a season it has been to him. 2 wins to his name. Both of them have been at short tracks. He took home last week at South Boston, then back very early in the season took home the win at the Lanier National Raceway. This is where Garrett Streets thrives, and this is where he's going to need to pick up a really solid finish, because next week, of course, we're throwing everything out the window when it comes to short track racing and heading to the 2.5-mile long Pocono Raceway. All of these short track skills that a lot of these ASRC veterans have are going to be going out the window. And sure, they've picked up some experience back at Phoenix, back at Charlotte, back at Michigan, back at Talladega, but none of that is really going to prepare them for what Pocono is going to be throwing at them next week. A little bit further back in the field, side by side once again for Brandon Feeney and Jeremy Morrow, with TJ Henson just behind. These three have been duking it out for most of tonight's event here, and neither one is going to give a bunch. Morrow locking up the brakes, just barely keeping it from spinning, but he's going to make contact with TJ Henson. TJ's around. Caution flag out on the speedway for the second time here at the South Boston Speedway, and Corey Logan is around as well. 2 incidents for the price of 1 caution flag. I'll tell you what, all things considered, that ain't that bad. Let's take a look back here first, see what happened here to TJ Henson coming out of turn number 4. Wanted to get a piece of this battle. Morrow locks up the brakes, gets the car pointed back in the right direction, but then a little bit loose coming off of corner exit, and just not a whole lot TJ Henson could have done there. And taking a look further back as well, looking back at the CZ Robotics 24 Corey Logan, this was a little bit further back on the speedway. Looking fine through 3 and 4, and then just snapped on them coming out of corner exit. Taking another look back at that, and you should be able to see both incidents break down at once here. TJ Henson in that black car in the middle of your screen goes around, and then there is Corey Logan right behind. Corey Logan walks away unscathed here, but it looks like TJ Henson might have a little bit of damage. She did come down to pit lane, but only 7 seconds in pit, so she might have actually just gone in there to check damage. Fuel, I don't think, is going to be really an issue for these drivers here this evening. So not too much to worry about in that regard. If Henson did pick up some fuel, though, that will give her a little bit of an advantage over the rest of the field, should it come into play at all. But I don't think that it is going to be an issue here this season. This event, excuse me. Of course, Fuel has definitely been a big issue for these ASRC Oval Series drivers over the course of the last couple of races. But tonight, things should be good to go green all the way through. Garrett Hess, Garrett Streets once again making up the front row. Then it's going to be the Felter brothers running back in third and fourth. Green flag back up in the air. Once again, pretty solid run by Hess down into turn number one. Not quite as much breathing room as he would have liked, though. A little bit of a nudge with the 15 there. But Streets is going to try and make the pass stick on the high line. And I'll tell you what, he's actually staying competitive up there. Oh, very hairy there. Almost contact between the two drivers, but sure enough, Garrett Streets is going to be your new race leader, but not quite enough room. Both Garretts go around. Caution flag out on the speedway. Everyone else looks to be okay. And I'll tell you what, race fans, that was a little bit of a disaster in slow motion. I felt like we could maybe see that one coming a little bit. A little bit more than the drivers could have anyway. Caution flag out on the speedway though. Let's take a look back at what all went down for these drivers. Riding on board with Garrett Streets up there on the high line. Garrett Hess down on the low line. And Streets, not quite as much room as he wanted to work with there. Was really trying to clear Streets. I was really trying to clear Hess, and not quite enough room to make it happen. Let's ride on board with the 00 do-it-yourself entry of Garrett Hess. Going down into 3 and 4, Streets thinks he's clear, and just not quite enough room to make it happen. The caution 3 out on the speedway. Corey Logan making the call to come down to pit lane. Only a 8-second stop for the driver of that 24 machine. Streets, however, on the other hand, 36 seconds. I didn't see a whole lot of damage on that 15 machine, so Streets honestly might have taken tires under that caution. Only issue, Streets is not on the lead lap anymore. Even with pitting under yellow, Streets is now being scored a lap down. Felterbrush is going to be scored as the race leader. Garrett Hess on the outside. Green flag up in the air once again here at the Southern National Motorsports Park. Really solid run down into the corner for the 44. Now it's going to be a battle between Hess and the Dos Primos Tequila entry. A little bit of breathing room for that do-it-yourself entry to work with, but they all have some drivers hot on their heels. Of course, Brandon Feeney here, another driver that is contending for the championship with Garrett Streets and Brian Sabelski. And at one point, Feeney was leading the championship standings up until last week's event at South Boston Speedway. We have seen the championship change hands pretty much with every race for the last couple of races here. And right now, it's looking like Sabelski could potentially be the driver getting up into the top spot. Actually, no, I think it would be Feeney. If the race were to end right now, Feeney would be up at the front right now because Garrett Streets is at the very tail end of the field right now. A little bit further back, Jeremy Morrow has had a rough evening so far tonight, currently battling it out once again with a now battered and bruised TJ Henson. And of course, right in front of him, that is Jason Gardner in the ASRC number 93, side by side once again, coming out at turn number 4. This time things go a little bit more smoothly for these two drivers, but not quite as TJ Henson comes up into him. And we're still running green here. Caution flag now out on the speedway for the 4th evening, and if we're getting word from the truck correctly, there was a second wreck that happened elsewhere on the track that brought that caution out, because we just had Michael Sparks go to pit lane. He just called the tow truck. And Michael Sparks was not involved in that incident, so I think we're going to have to take a moment here to try and break down what all just happened here. Let's take a look back first, look at the incident between Morrow and TJ Henson side by side going down into turn number 2. We saw it happening in slow motion. Just not quite enough room for either driver. And now everything looks fine, you know, that's that. But then we get word that Michael Sparks also crashed. And mind you, this Mountain Dew number 42 is on an entirely different part of the speedway right now. And sure enough, the car just snaps out from under him pretty much the same way that we saw happen to Corey Logan earlier in tonight's event. And he immediately takes the tow, tries to avoid the caution flag coming out, but not really quite able to because there was that other incident on the track that would have brought the caution flag out anyways. So that is going to be that for the time being. Drivers still getting racked up and sent back to their proper spots in the starting order. Lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car. Couple of takers down on pit lane. Everyone except Feeney, Murphy, and Morrow. And now we're going to see Brandon Feeney as the new race leader. So we could still potentially see all 3 championship leaders pick up bonus points for laps led here this evening. And word from the booth, we have had to extend the caution. Make sure everything is lined up in their correct positioning here. Race control not quite happy with how things are looking just yet, but everyone's getting everything sorted out now. And it looks like we should be good to go green this time by Derek Murphy, Brandon Feeney, your front row, TJ Henson, Jeremy Morrow going to be row number 2. Green flag back up in the air and not a very great start from the outside line. 3 cars passing Derek Murphy right on the front stretch, much less going into turn number 1. And there is going to be Garrett Hess, who is also being scored a lap down right now in the do-it-yourself 00. Several drivers look like they've been caught a lap down under that caution. Hess is lap down. Gardner is a lap down. Sparks now 5 laps down. However, Garrett Streets was able to get the lucky dog and get put back up onto the lead lap here. So Streets is back into this battle, though he is currently running back in the 8th position, and he is around on the speedway. Caution flag is out once again. If that's not the commentator's curse, then I don't know quite what is. We say his name, we pan the camera over, and it's disaster for our championship leader of Garrett Streets. Little bit of a slide from Jason Gardner. Tries to get it slowed down, but not quite able to slow it down enough. And Gardner manages to drift up into Streets there. Let's take a ride on board with the number 93 machine here. Heading into turns 3 and 4. He starts drifting. He tries to lock it up. Not quite fast enough to eat on the brakes. Not quite fast enough to bring it to a stop. And of course, Gardner looks like he might have taken new tires under that caution. So it's entirely possible that is the source of the slide right there. Expert moves by Sparks to avoid that incident. No damage to any of the drivers, though. We're going to rack him back up. We're going to try this again. And Murphy did elect to go down to pit lane, so that just leaves Brandon Feeney and Jeremy Morrow as the only drivers left on the speedway to have not come down pit lane yet. 63 laps in the books, though. We still have a decent amount of race left here tonight. And Feeney has a full pack of drivers on brand new tires he has to worry about. He may be in the battle for the race, the overall season championship. He may be looking to try and pick up win number 3 here in season number 12. But none of these drivers behind him are going to be cutting him any slack whatsoever. He is going to have to fight for his life on this restart. Mountain Dew 44, Felter Rush going to be starting up on the outside line. Then it could be Henson and Sabelski, followed by Morrow and Felter Snatch back in 5th and 6th for row number 3. Pace car is off. Let's try this thing once again. Green flag up in the air here at the Southern National Motorsports Park. Feeney not quite getting the run he needed down into turns 1 and 2, but on old tires, I would say that is certainly good enough because he managed to clear Felterbrush. He's managed to clear Felterbrush, and that's at the bell. Felterbrush going to go for the crossover, though. Sends it down deep into turn 1 and 2. Not quite able to make the move work, though. Manages to get enough of a run on the backstretch to pull up alongside him, though. I don't think Feeney's going to be able to hold that off. New tires and on the preferred line. It's going to be difficult, but Feeney is still hanging on to it. He is still in this battle with that 44 machine. 67 laps in the books, only 33 laps left to go. Right behind is Brian Sabelski, who is also... looks like Sabelski actually is on old tires. Sabelski just took fuel under that caution. So Sabelski is also working with old tires here, but I'll tell you what, he's running pretty considerably faster than Feeney here. About a whole 1/10 of a second faster between the 85 and the 38. And sure enough, Feeney's going to go around. He locks it down. Caution flag out on the speedway. I don't think there was any assistance there from Sabelski. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that was spin entirely on Feeney's own. Let's take a look back here, see what happened for the driver out of Canada. A little bit loose out of the corner, but it doesn't quite look like there was any contact there. Let's take a look back here. Let's get all up in the nitty-gritty here and see if we can't get a better view of things. Riding on board here with Brian Sabelski. And it looks incredibly close, but it does not look like there is contact there. So that's going to be our 6th caution flag of the evening. TJ Henson and Brandon Feeney both making the call down to pit lane, so Feeney is officially going to pit. Now that he has been sent to the tail end of the field, that saving strategy isn't really going to help him at all. But who knows? It does look like he is putting on new tires, and those might just sail him back up to the front of the field here in these last, should be 25 to go when we actually take the green. And TJ Henson is around. TJ Henson has spun out under caution, it looks like, in that 62 South Point machine. A little bit of nose damage as well. She's going to get it back up and going again. Let's take a quick look back. Trying to get a little bit of heat in the tires and maybe a little bit of a Juan Pablo Montoya jet dryer incident there. No big deal. She's back up roughly where she needs to be in the starting lineup now. And it looks like lights are off on the pace car. Sure enough, lights are off on the iRacing.com pace car. We're going green next time by. And it's going to be a rookie driver in his first ever start with the league. Starting out on the inside. 4-time champion starting out on the outside. Green flag up in the air once again. And Felterbrush getting a really solid jump down into turn number 1. Side by side for Sabelski and Felter Snatch further behind Streets and Corey Logan up high. Jeremy Haro going down low here. And there's Garrett Hess on the 00. Hess is eager to get back up to the front of this thing after leading so many laps of tonight's event. Why don't we try and push it 3 wide there almost for just a second. A little bit of contact there with Jeremy Morrow of the 74. But Hess manages to battle his way through that entire pack. Now he just has to catch his way up. Caution flag out on the speedway. Jeremy Morrow is up in the outside wall. Looks like a bit of left rear damage to the number 74. That is a pretty peculiar place to get damage like that, race fans. I'll tell you what, I think if we go queue up the replay, we're going to see exactly where it came from. First, a little bit of a nudge from Garrett Hess, then a little bit of a checkup. And that's going to send Corey Logan his round as well. Let's take another look back at this. Might actually have to break out the chopper cam for this one. Not one we often get to use here. Let's take a top-down look at view at things. So we got that contact with Garrett Hess, then side by side. TJ Henson comes up, a little bit of a wiggle, a little bit of a checkup, and Corey Logan not quite able to get slowed down fast enough here this evening. And on board here with the CZ Robotics number 24. Just a little bit of an accordion effect. No one really able to get slowed down in time here. And that is going to bring out caution flag number 7 here on the speedway. It looks like as it's going to shake out, it should be Brian Sabelski, the frontmost starting driver of our 3 championship contenders here this evening. I have to wait a moment till they stack them up 2 by 2 just to make sure. And we should be getting to 1 the green next time by, I believe so. Sure enough, so Sabelski will be starting up on the front row. Streets starting in row number 2. And Feeney going to go all the way back into row number 4. So Feeney in a difficult situation here with 18 laps left to go. Of course, these are your 3 drivers that mathematically can still take home the champion next week at Pocono. Green flag back up in the air. Let's try this thing again. Stuck up on the outside line. Things are not going to be easy for Sabelski, but he's got some... Oh, trouble. Belter snatches around. So is Garrett Hess. So is Gardner. So is Logan. Caution flag number 8 out on the speedway, and Morrow's around. Murphy is around. We've officially had the big one here at the Southern National Motorsports Park, race fans. Once again, we find ourselves in a situation where I think we kind of need a top-down view of everything that just went down. And the truck is saying it started with Garrett Hess. Going down into 3 and 4, a little bit of a checkup out of Felter Snatch, then everyone kind of going every which way. No one able to get slowed down quite fast enough. Gardner is getting shoved all the way down onto pit lane there. That's not quite what he was hoping for here this evening. Let's take a moment. Let's go slow-mo here down into 3 and 4. There's a little bit of a checkup with the Dos Primos Tequila entry. That gets Hess in the back of him. Hess slams on the brakes. Feeney nowhere to go. TJ Henson on his outside. So he clips the rear end of Hess. And then as we all go up high, Gardner piles in. There's Murphy as well. And sure enough, there comes Jeremy Morrow. Not really anywhere he could go. A lot of places to go on the speedway. All of them were hazardous. But it looks like Morrow managed to bring it to... Oh, nope, never mind. There's the contact. So I think it's safe to call that decently heavy damage for multiple drivers on the speedway here. And it looks like the official word is Hess, Logan, Sparks, Murphy, Morrow, Gardner, and Felter Snatch all involved in that incident. So we might be going single file restart here this time by. Let's take a look back. Sure enough, lights are out on the pace car. Single file restart here at the Southern National Raceway. It's going to be Felter Brush in the lead. Sabelski in street, second and third. Green flag up in the air once again. And already 2x2 further back in the back. That is Garrett Hess with something to prove. He has led laps here tonight. He has been up and down and everywhere else in the speedway here tonight. He wants to take home this win. Big double high five up in the air. 10 laps left to go here at Southern National Motorsports Park. Hess has cleared the gaggle of cars at the tail end once again on the outside, looking into at least a top 5 further up in the field. All single file, but all nose to tail for our top 5, and our 3 championship contenders are all up here as well. Sabelski, Streets, and Feeney duking it out with everything they have left to give. TJ Henson holding on to 4th the best she can. And of course, rookie driver leading the race, but Henson's going to go around and caution flag number 9 here at the Southern National Motorsports Park. And I'll tell you what, we're not going into NASCAR overtime, but it looks like we will be having a green-white checkered finish here this evening. And Henson goes around again. Those tires are not happy with the driver of that number 62. Take a look back, get a look at that incident there between Henson and Feeney. This is another incident. I think it might actually have been a self-spin. I'm not positive that Henson actually got any help there. Close, but no cigar. Henson goes around all on her own. Caution flag comes out. The field goes by. She gets it back rolling again. Slams it up through the gears. Goes into 1 and 2. And it does it again. I'll tell you what. These drivers were having quite an experience in practice and qualifying, and that experience is transferring over into our main event here this evening. What a crazy evening it has been. And of course, there is the option for overtime. That is something that is on the menu here. It could happen. And it certainly wouldn't be the first time it's happened either. Southern National, I actually believe Southern National, it either holds the records for most cautions in an ASRC race or is tied for second. I believe it's tied for second because I'm pretty sure the most cautions an ASRC race ever had was at the Charlotte Legends Oval. And I believe that was 12. But lights should go out on the iRacing.com pace car this time by, in which case we will be going into overtime because we do not have enough laps left for a green-white checkered. We should see that number jump back up to 3. Sure enough, we are officially in overtime, race fans, and with overtime, we're getting rid of that single file restart nonsense. We're back to 2x2. It's going to be Felterbrush, Sabelski, Streets, and Feeney, your top 3 championship contenders, all bunched up behind a rookie driver in their first ever start. Green flag up in the air once again at the Southern National Motorsports Park. Green flag up in the air once again. We are nearly 3 wide back in the back. Garrett Hess is in this battle as well. He may not be vying for a championship, but he is absolutely vying for a race win. Garrett Street side by side with Felterbush. He is going to take the lead. White flag up in the air. This will be the final lap of the race no matter what. There's contact all over the place at the tail end of the field, but we are still racing up at the front. Sabelski goes around. There's Rex for the lead. And Felterbrush is going to take home the win. Feeney second, Streets third. Sabelski. Oh no, Sabelski finishing all the way back in 9th. That is a monumental dash to Sabelski's championship efforts, and man, I don't know the math on the championship right now, but that could potentially knock him out of contention here. What a crazy finish. Before we even think about trying to interview our top 3 drivers here this evening, I think we need to take a moment to go back and unpack that final lap here. Let's take first a moment to look back at that other incident that happened between Logan and it looks like Derek Murphy. Logan a little bit loose out of 4 as the white flag goes up in the air, sends it in a bit too deep, collects the 78. Both of them go around. Then further up at the front of the field, it's a battle between Streets and Felterbush, and both drivers go around, and Feeney crosses the line before Streets. And Sabelski too. Sabelski around for a decent amount of time there. Let's take another look back at this. Get a top-down view from the blimp. And there's actually a nudge from Garrett Hess there that sends Sabelski around, and that's what sends Sabelski all the way back to 9th. He wasn't even involved in that incident for the lead. Oh, man. What a disastrous evening for 4-time champion. That's it, race fans. One heck of a race in the books. We will be back here in just a moment with some words with your top 3 finishers here this evening. Don't go anywhere, race fans. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to the Southern National Motorsports Park after a pretty chaotic event here this evening. Everything has gone, honestly, there are no words for what all we just witnessed. There are major championship implications here. Let's start things down at the bottom and work our way up. Mr. Garrett Street's championship leader coming into tonight's event, and it's only gotten closer heading out of things here tonight. How are you feeling?
I don't know. It's a tight race, and as expected, it's going to come down to Pocono, which is fine. I don't know. It's gonna be one for the ages. So, had a good car tonight. got up there and took the lead, and then just had some contact and got spun. Had to work our way back up through the field, so made it tough. But uh, yeah, I just a lot of people had a tough night. It was a very tight field tonight, so we'll see how it goes going into Pocono.
Yeah, I mean, with everything that happened here tonight, do you think there's anything that you could have done differently to be walking home with a win this evening?
Um, I don't know. I felt like I had a chance at it going into three. On the last lap there, I was underneath Mike, which is kind of the preferred line, although the outside line works. And I got kind of loose on entry, and then um, kind of lost some ground, and then got loose on exit. The car wiggled. I tried to catch it and ended up getting into Mike. So I felt bad about that because probably cost him some points on the clean race, which really sucks. But glad that he still won, and I didn't cost him the race. But yeah, I don't know. I think if we could have kept clean earlier on in the race, we probably would have had a better shot at it. It was kind of tough coming back through the field and using our stuff up. But overall, I'm happy with it. We're still in the points battle going into Pocono, um, so we're in contention, and that's all I can ask for.
Yeah, that's pretty much all that can really be said. You are still very much in contention for the championship. But of course, Pocono is going to be a really difficult situation. All of your best finishes so far this season have been on the short tracks. So how confident are you feeling about your ability to take home the championship next week?
I feel pretty decent. I mean, Pocono's going to be tough. It's going to be tough regardless, but and then having double points, there's going to be more on the line. But I don't think my finishes necessarily were indicative of how we ran on the in the double points races at the bigger tracks. Homestead, we didn't run very good. We didn't have speed there, but Charlotte, we qualified bad, and I think we got caught up in an accident. In Iowa, we ran pretty good, so um, feel decent. We'll just head in there and we'll see what happens. We'll give it our best shot. And that's all we can ask for.
Good deal. Well, that seems like a pretty solid plan to me. But of course, before we let you go and start getting prepared for our championship event, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Streets. Who do you want to thank for making things happen here tonight?
I want to thank all the guys at ASRC, Jason, Johnny, Brian for helping admin races. Thank you for broadcasting. I want to thank Morgan for watching. She's cheering me on back at home, um, watching the stream. And then want to thank Jeremy for all that he does for SM Racing Products. And then I want to thank all the people out there that have helped support SM Racing Products, growing a little bit of a community over there. So if you guys are interested or want to join, just message Jeremy or I, and yeah, come join the community. And we love all the support that we get, and can't thank everybody enough.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out. Congrats on the finish here tonight, and good luck next week.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you then.
Finishing back in the runner up position, another driver with 2 wins to his name, another driver that is in contention for a championship next week, Mr. Brandon Feeney. What an event it has been here this evening.
Yeah, it was definitely had its up and downs. We were trying to stay clean at the beginning, and then unfortunately I got loose coming off the corner, and that changed the whole strategy. So we went and got tires and made the best of it.
Yeah, still a really solid run, walking away with a podium finish. Keeps you in this battle for Pocono Raceway. Is there anything you think you could have done different here tonight to be walking home with the checkered flag?
Nah, that was actually really slow here. I was like ninth in practice. I think I qualified better than I practiced for speed. I was just trying to get a good long run and save tire, and like I normally do, win on strategy. But we never got it. But luckily there was a short run there, and I just put her to the high side, and guys were getting loose on the bottom, and then Garrett and Mike got together there, and I just stayed pinned in it and hope for the best.
Good deal. Well, all things considered, I think you can pretty safely put whatever memories you have in this race in the bin, walk away with a nice pocket full of points, and get yourself ready for Pocono next week. How are you feeling on your chances to be walking away as an ASRC Oval Series champion?
Oh, I'm going to sleep great before we have the race. I got nothing to lose. I got everything to gain. So I came in here saying that I'm not even running for a championship. I have another league that we run before, so I've made more races than I thought I was going to. And I've done well in the double points races, especially on the longer tracks.
Fair enough. I mean, there's nothing more dangerous than a man with nothing to lose. I like it. For now, though, the microphone's all yours, Mr. Feeney. Who do you want to thank for getting you here?
I gotta thank you for broadcasting, little buddy, in the admin group that Garrett was thanking there, and then I gotta thank Liquid Molly, and hopefully some of your fans can come over and watch the Feeney Call podcast.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, and good luck next week at Pocono.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
And finally, taking home the win here this evening, rookie driver here tonight, self-proclaimed Andy Felterbrush. I've got to ask, what is the relationship with Mr. Feltersnatch here this evening? We got to know that before any of the race details.
Me and him are very, very good friends. I was one of his groomsmen in his wedding, so we go back a few years.
Fair enough. That said, though, you showed up unannounced. You just kicked the crap out of several multi-time champions here in the series, and now you're a race winner in ASRC. How are you feeling?
Excited. I had zero expectations coming into here. First race, so didn't want to ruin anyone's championship points going in by, being stupid. So I was just trying to take it easy and just relax and hit every mark, be consistent.
It certainly worked out for you. You were really dominant all evening here tonight. I gotta say, when we went into that final overtime attempt, was there any worries in your mind that you weren't going to be walking away with a win?
No, my only worry was not to mess it up. But, don't overdrive the corner. And left open the inside, and so I was just hoping, praying that the outside would hold.
Fair enough. It managed to work out for you one way or another. And of course, next week, not exactly where you're going to be contending for the championship and all, but still Pocono Raceway. How are you feeling throwing out all this short track knowledge you just got and going to one of the big tracks?
I have like zero short track knowledge. Most of it's like a mile and a half. So Pocono, I feel pretty comfortable with it.
Good deal. That seems like a solid plan to me. And I guess the big question too, looking a little bit further ahead in the future, is are we going to be seeing you and Mr. Feltersnatch here for season number 13, where y'all could potentially compete for championships yourselves?
I think we will. We'll be coming back. So far, everyone's been really awesome, so nothing negative whatsoever with this group.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out. Congratulations on the win. And of course, the microphone is all yours. Who you want to thank for making things happen here tonight?
All right. I'll thank you for broadcasting. I'm going to have to go back and watch it and, subscribe or follow you. I want to thank the admins for hosting this race. I want to thank Jay for getting me into this league. Yeah, that's about it.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you at Pocono next week.
Thank you.
You heard it here first, race fans. Your top 3 finishers here tonight: Garrett Streets, Brandon Feeney, and as the Lord has willed it, Andy Felterbrush Jr. takes home the win here at the Southern National Motorsports Park. With that said, of course, not the only 3 drivers in the race. How about we take a look down at our unofficial race results for the rest of the field here this evening? It's going to be Feltersnatch ring it home, back in position number 4. Second run of the season, second top 5 here tonight. 5th place going to go back to Garrett Streets, followed by Jason Gardner. Back in 6th, TJ Henson rounding out position number 7, followed by Jeremy Morrow, for the SM Racing Products team. Brian Sabelski, potential championship contender, bringing it home all the way back in 9th. It's going to be an uphill battle for him next week at Pocono Raceway. And finally, rounding out the top 10, going to be Mr. Derek Murphy in the 78 machine. Bringing it back in 11th, Corey Logan in the CZ Robotics 24, and Michael Sparks rounding out the field, as of course, Brad Ringer did not make the call to the grid here this evening. That said, though, that's about all we've got here from the Southern National Motorsports Park. It has been one crazy evening here tonight. And next week, it all comes down to the Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle, where we will be declaring a champion of the ASRC Oval Series for its 12th season, as well as its first ever ARCA Menard Series champion. Definitely want to be there. Of course, same day, same time, Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. That said, thank you all for tuning in to tonight's event,